Hello, it's Stuart from Berkshire Guitar Amplifier Repairs. I'm just going to do a quick bias video on the Marshall JCM2000 TSL601 or TSL60. I think the 60 is the head version. I can't find anything on the internet about this at all, so I think this is at the time of filming at least, the only video available. And it took me quite a while to work out how to do it. So come with me now and we'll bias this amp, and also at the end of this I'll just give you a quick look inside the amp as well. Okay, here we are around the back of the amp. I've got the chassis out on this amp, so it makes it a bit easier, but it's quite hard to spot where the bias control is, and it took me quite a long time to find it, and there was nothing on the internet about this amp and about the location of the bias adjustment pot. Anyway, it's behind this little plastic cover here, so we'll take that off and you can have a look. I'm just going to put a screwdriver down behind it and just lever it off. It's not too difficult, like this. And when you leave that off behind there, you'll see little bias adjustment pot and 3 prongs. So we're going to get our multimeter on those prongs and have a little twiddle with the bias and set it up that way. Okay, so you'll have to bear with me on this because I'm not able to find a definitive answer to what I'm trying to do here, so I'm having to work it out from first principles. I've got the meter connected to the centre of the 3 pins and the outside one of the outside ones. My belief is that those 2 outside pins are the same. It's not one valve and the other. I believe those 2 are the same. Let me prove that to you. Well, first of all, let's have a look. So we've got the multimeter connected there on millivolt scale, and we're reading 44 millivolts, which I think is 44 milliamps, because that's across a 1 ohm resistor. I've also got my Eurotube's bias meter plugged in, and that's saying 38 milliamps. So there's a slight discrepancy between the bias meter and what we're reading on here. That could be just tolerances, I'm not totally sure. But we've just got 1 valve in. Now I have managed to find a bias procedure. It really took some finding, and they say to set the pot to 80 millivolts on the meter. Now of course we've only got 40 because we've only got 1 tube in, and I believe this is measuring the current through 2 tubes, through both tubes. So we'll plug the second tube in, and I expect to see that increase as the tube warms up. I expect to see that increase to you know, something in the region of 80, and then we'll tweak the pot. So it's steady at 45 at the moment. As you can see, look, it's coming up now as the second tube is drawing current. And I think this is the combined tube current through both tubes. Whilst that's warming up, let me show you why I think that is. I've taken this yellow crock clip here and put it on the other one, and it reads absolutely identical voltage to this one. In other words, this is 74.4, that's 74.4, and there's just no way that would be like that if one was 1 tube and one was the other tube. So that's what I believe. I believe those outer 2 pins are identical, and it's the combined current, so it doesn't matter which one you go on, is the point I'm making. And as you can see, look, the current has come up nicely to 77 milliamps, and it's holding steady about there, 77.7. So to change the bias, we just I've got a little trimmer tool here, which I will use. You can use a little flat screwdriver. There's no high voltages around here, as you might imagine, since it's a user get-atable part. And there's a little pot in here, and we'll just put the trimmer in the pot. I can get it in whilst holding. There we go. And now let's have a look. I'm going to go clockwise on the trimmer and that does increase the bias look anti-clockwise, and it decreases it. So my belief is that 80 milliamps is 40 milliamps per tube. That's a bit hot for me. I'm going to set it at 70, 35 milliamps per tube, and so that's 70 look. And as I say, the bias meter is reading 30, so I'm not quite sure why there's a discrepancy between 30 milliamps here and 35 milliamps here. No idea. Obviously this is measuring across a 1 ohm resistor somewhere in the circuit, so if that resistor was slightly out of tolerance by 10% or something, that would certainly do it. Anyway, we're not bothered about a few milliamps here or there. 30, 35, it's all the same. That's all good. So that's how to bias this amp. Now I believe this is the only information on the internet about how to bias this amp. It's taken me would you believe, you'll probably laugh, but I spent an hour looking for the bias spot. It said there was one, and I could not find it by looking on the chassis, and of course it was hidden behind this blanking plate, and you can't see this little subboard here from the inside, so that was why it took so long to find it. I had actually given up, and I thought, well, where is this bias spot? And suddenly I saw this blanking plate. I thought, could it be behind there? They're not giving it away though, are they? There's no little hint that might be how you bias the amp. Anyway, so that is how you bias a Marshall JCM2000 TSL40 or 401, and that hopefully will get you out of trouble. I'll conclude this video by saying I don't like this amplifier, and they're not terribly well thought of actually. The reason I don't like it is it's well, actually, I tell you what, we've got 5 minutes. I'll turn it upside down on the bench, and you can have a look inside it, and I'll show you. You can stop here if all you want is the bias information, but if you want to have a quick look inside the amp, watch for another few minutes. I'll turn it upside down for you. Okay, here we are, the amp upside down, a quick look inside, and as you can see, this is a hideously complicated amplifier. We've got relays all over the place, transistors everywhere, transistors here, look, chips, and most importantly, to do anything on this amp, you have to completely take it to pieces. As you can probably see, the board can't come out at the moment because it's inside this kind of U-shaped chassis. So in order to get that out, you have to take all the front panel controls off, and then you have to take the front panel off, which comes off via some screws so that you can get the board out. But of course, before you can get the board out, you have to take this board out, undo all the connectors, take all the valves out, take all the valve springs off, take the subboard off, and all in all, to do the simplest repair task on this amp, you're talking a major strip down. I'll give you a good example on this amp actually. The customer, this is not why the customer bought it to me, but the input jack, which is here, is slightly sprung. Now by that I mean you shouldn't be able to press that down at all like that. You see that's sprung open. And that's because at some point someone's chipped over the guitar lead or something and it's yanked it and bent this up. There's nothing you can do about that. You can't bend it back down again, and the only thing you can do is to replace the jack. Normally relatively straightforward on an amp. On this amp you're looking a minimum 1 hour, maybe a bit more stripped down, and a minimum 1 hour, maybe a bit more put back together. 2 hours work and to change the jack, so you're looking £100 just to change an input jack or to do anything on this amp. So that's the issue with this amp. I don't like these, just a personal thing, you might love it, I don't like these overly complicated triple channel amps. I always think if you want all that stuff, get yourself a pedal board and have a basic amp that does the amplification and a pedal board to do all your lead effects and that sort of thing. But that's just my personal opinion. I know these amps aren't terribly well thought of either. But anyway, there you go, there's a look inside this amp so that you can see what's going on inside it. This is a subboard which has the effects sender return and the reverb signal conditioning and a few other things on it as well. They're very, very complicated. Anything goes wrong, you're in a world of trouble and a world of expense. Anyway, there you go. Hope you enjoyed looking inside that. Okay, there you go. That's the Marshall JCM2000 TSL biased, and a little look inside it. And as I said, not my favourite sort of amp, these complicated dual or single channel or triple channel amps. But you know, some people might love them. So thanks for watching, and I hope you managed to bias your amp at least. And I'll see you on the next video.